In math lesson 1-7, we're going to talk about scaled bar graphs. You should be getting in the habit now, but remember you'll need your whiteboard marker and eraser. You will also need your math journal and a pencil. Today you may also choose, as we are making a graph, you may want to use colored pencils, crayons, or markers. So remember, you can stop the video at any time if you need to go get these supplies. Let's start with a warm-up on our whiteboards. Would you number 1 and number 2? Would you please put the solution and tell how you got that? So just answers only, number 1 and number 2. Pause the video if needed. Well, 7 plus 9 is 16. It might have helped if you thought, well, I know that 7 plus 10 equals 17, and 9 is 1 less than 10, so the answer must be 1 less than 17. 9 minus 4 is 5. But I also knew that 10 minus 4 equals 6, and 9 is 1 less than that, so the answer would have to be 1 less. All right, erase your whiteboard. Number 1 and 2 again. Go ahead and solve. Be prepared to share how you figured out the answer. Pause the video if needed. 8 plus 6 is 14. Maybe you thought, well, I know that 10 plus 6 is 16 and 8 is 2 less. So the answer must be 2 less. Or I knew that if I doubled 7, 14 minus 7 equals 7, and 15 is 1 more. So the answer must be 1 more than 7, which is 8. In the information below, it says a bar graph is a drawing that uses bars to represent data. Bar graphs can help you answer questions about the data. The example below is a scaled bar graph. A scale is usually meant to measure something. A scale might measure weight of a suitcase before you travel. The weight might be of how much the hamburger weighs, or how much a student weighs if he or she is going to the doctor for a well child visit. A scale measures a number. The scale shows here intervals of 2. So the scale is right here, and it goes up by 2s. 2, 4, 6, 8. The example in this scaled bar graph shows how many children in class chose certain foods as their favorite. So we notice the very first thing is there's always a title to the bar graph. This one says favorite foods of the class. We have a scale on the left-hand side that goes from the bottom up to the top, and this refers to the number of children. So we start with 0 children all the way up to 8. Along the bottom, we have a label that tells the favorite foods. So the information here is very clearly labeled. How many children chose pizza? I'd look for pizza. And here's where it ends. So I go over to my left. There's not a number there, but what would halfway between 6 and 8 be? It would be 7. So I would say there were 7 students who liked pizza the best. How about hamburgers? That one goes directly up to the line, so my eyes go over to the left. How many students chose hamburgers as their favorite? 4. So bar graphs can help you analyze data or information. What if these numbers along the side, indicating the number of children, what if they went up by 1 instead? What would happen? Well, our numbers, right? Pizza would have to be way up here. The bars would get a lot higher. So sometimes it doesn't make sense to count by ones along the side. Sometimes you might have to go by 2s or 5s. Let's take a look at another set of data. The example here says the children in Mr. Majumdar's class counted how many pull-ups each of them could do. Their results are shown in the tally chart. So the tally chart helps us to collect data, and the bar graph will help us display the data. So the tally chart is just a way to collect the information. It helps us to organize and then later be able to represent that. So if we take a look at how many children could do 0 pull-ups. Remember, when we have tally marks, we go 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 5th one is diagonal, 4, 5. And that is so it's easy to count. So here we would have 6 children that could do 0 pull-ups. How many children could do 1 pull-up? 5 tally marks. How about 2 pull-ups? 4. How many could do 3 pull-ups? 2. How many could do 4 pull-ups? 0. How many could do 5 pull-ups? 3. And how many could do 6 pull-ups? 1. The bar graph down below shows the same information as the tally chart, but in a different way. So if I look at 0, remember there were 6. If you look at the numbers along the edge here, they go up incrementally by 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So this is where we get the 6 from. There were 5 students who could do 1. This goes up to 5. 4 students who could do 2. 2 students who could do 3. And if there is 0, we just leave that and move to the next one. There were 3 students who could do 5 and 1 that could do 6. We're going to go ahead into our math journals and we're going to display our own data. Please turn to page 12 in your math journal. And it says displaying data. How many, and I'm going to change this to first names. How many first names are there? Let's think about who's in our class. Let's include all students, 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. I will go ahead and write down all of our students' names. We have Jayla and Kyler, and Bentley, and Anna, and Zane, and James, and Emmy, and Abdikadir, who likes to go by AR. But what Abdikadir, we're going to put your full name just for this activity. And Suki. So let's go ahead and count how many names we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's put Mrs. Haar's first name. My first name is Becky. So let's look at the name that has the least amount. Abdikadir, we're going to use your full name just for this activity. Well, the least amount of letters would be 4. And what would be the most? Abdikadir, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we're going to count up 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Would you write that in your math journal on page 12? There might not be some names that fit, just like there might not be some. Do you remember there were no students that could do 4, but that still was part of our graph? That will happen here. So let's go ahead and count Jayla's. How many letters in Jayla's name? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's make a tally mark and I'll cross her off. Kyler, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Kyler has 5 letters. Bentley, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's make a tally mark next to number 7. Anna has 1, 2, 3, 4. Make a tally mark next to number 4. 4 letters in her name. Zane, 1, 2, 3, 4. Zane has 4. Let's make a tally mark there. James, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Make a tally mark next to number 5. Emmy, 1, 2, 3, 4. Make another tally mark next to the number 4. Abdikadir, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Mark him off. Suki, 1, 2, 3, 4. And Becky, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're going to look at the data in our tally chart. What are 3 things that you know from looking at the data? Most students, write this in your math journal, have 4 or 5 letters. What else can you tell? No one has 6 or 8 letters. I also could say the longest name is 9 letters. Now what we're going to do is we are going to move to the next journal page. So I'm going to take a screenshot of this and move it to the next page. Moving on to page 13, we're going to make a bar graph to represent our data. So we need a title. We're going to write first names. So on page 13, write first names. Because it's the title, we capitalize the first letter of each word, unless it's a word like of or the. Then on the left-hand side, we are going to write the number of students. So I'm going to turn my journal to the side a little bit. Number of students. Now, if I were in a classroom in person and I had 25 students, I probably would want to number it by 2s or by 5s. But since we have a pretty small class, we're going to number with increments of 1. So let's start at 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And again, if we had a larger class and there were 15 kids who had 4 letters in their first name, this graph would not work along the side. Next, I'm going to label the bottom. So I have, this would be for the number of letters. Again, it's a label, it's a title, so I'm going to capitalize everything but the O on of, but the N on number and the L on letters. Now, the least amount I have is 4, so I don't have to start at 0 letters or 1. So I'm going to start at, let's start at 2 letters, 3 letters in their first name, 4 letters, 5 letters, 6 letters, 7 letters, 8 letters, 9 letters. I need to make sure that I am able to include the least amount of letters and the most. So I could have started with 4 as well. Here's where you may choose to use your colored pencils, crayons, or markers. So let's start with the first one. 4 letters. There were 4 students. So I'm going to start with 4. Nobody had 2 letters. Nobody had 3 letters. So I'm going to move all the way over to 4 and shade in up to the 4. So this indicates there were 4 students that had 4 letters in their first name. Let's move to the next one. 5 letters. There were also 4 students who had 5 letters. So I go to 5 letters and I'm going to shade in up to the number 4 to indicate there were 4 students. So right now we have the same amount of students who had 4 letters in their first name and 5 letters. There were no students with 6 letters in their first name, so I'll just skip that one. Move on to 7. 7 letters. 1 student had 7 letters. So that represents that 1 student. This student right here. And the next one, 9. So I'm going to shade in 9 letters. There was 1 student. And notice I'm going across and looking. There's the 1. Bar graphs allow us to see data in a very easy way to compare how numbers or data might be similar, how they might be different. Obviously, here I can tell that 4 and 5 letters is a very common length of a first name. All right, you're going to be taking a picture of your graph and uploading it to Schoology.